Hello, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes through the lens of the Akashic Records. My name is Mina, and I'm happy to be here with you. If you're new and uncertain of what the Akashic Records are, I invite you to check out my website, minaruchi.com, and there's some videos there explaining all about what the records are and what a reading is, and you can watch me do a live reading there if that's something that piques your curiosity. But for right now, I invite you, if it's safe and if it's accessible, to just take a moment to land here. Maybe that's taking a deep breath. Maybe if you're not multitasking, it's closing your eyes. Maybe it's making a sound or exhaling in the way that feels most indulgent and comfortable and good. So whatever that looks like to you, just take a moment or two to arrive and settle if you're able to, as I tune in to what the records want to share with us this week. Okay. So they are sharing, it takes practice to be magical. It takes practice to be magical. And they're leaving the idea, the definition of magical, totally open. And they're using a whimsical word like that because it's actually hard to pin down of what that means. So you can think about that. What does that mean to you? What does magical mean to you? Maybe it's like a really whimsical, kind of like fun, maybe even a little out there idea of what real life magic is. Or maybe it's actually a really practical idea of just alignment, feeling good inside yourself. Whatever it might be. There's so much possibility inside that word. So I invite you to play with that. And yet, whatever that might mean to you, the records are offering us this perspective that it takes practice to be magical. And this is something that I'm sure I've said in so many different ways over the last few years. And this really goes for anything, no matter what your idea of magical is, no matter what flavor of magic we're talking about. It takes practice to be magical, to be magical, to be magical at something, to be highly skilled at something, to kind of resonate something. It takes practice. And so often it seems that this is a thing. This is in some ways a very just simple like reality that a lot of people don't like to hear. and that's okay if that's the case for you, if this is annoying. But I'd love to just like explore this. And they're coming at this from such a playful perspective too, of to be magical, whatever your idea of magic is. To become magical, it takes practice. And practice implies repetition. There's a sense of consistency and rhythm to this, a rhythmic consistency, showing up, practicing again. It's not practicing one time before you go out and do something. It's like a practice. a practice of doing something, to be in practice of something, not to, it's not like a rehearsal. There's a difference between like rehearsing something and to have a practice of something. So you can like muse on the difference between that, of like, it's not just preparing before doing something, it's to be in rhythmic relationship with something, right? That's more what they mean by practice here. It's a way of being, it's a way of showing up, it's a way of being in relationship with something. So to be magical, what it takes to be magical, whatever that means to you, it could simply mean skilled at something. To be magical requires rhythmic relationship with that thing, with your own magic, whatever that is. And so that's something to consider. If there's something that, if your magic is something you aspire to, if being magical in whatever way you wish to, is something that you want, are you in rhythmic, consistent relationship with it? Do you show up for your magic regularly, consistently, with relational commitment? Are you in conversation with your magic? Do you spend time with it regularly? And it's through this like rhythmic, very alive relationship of practice, right? Practicing your magic. It's through that magic grows and evolves and blooms. And again, you can think of like magic, maybe that's inner alignment, maybe that's a skill set, maybe that's honing your innate gifts and learning to express them. Whatever it might be, for that to grow, like to treat that as something that is alive, that takes tending in order to cultivate. It takes, a process of cultivation to become, to like bloom into its potential. And that's a really humble way of relating to magic, instead of thinking that the way to arrive at magic is also magical, right? And when we say magical in that sense, it's like, it doesn't have to be that overnight you're just magically good at something, or overnight you just happen to hone your magic in one try. And what they're offering here is like a really practical pathway to a magical existence. Instead of searching and seeking for a magical way to get to a magical existence, we can use the practical way to arrive at a magical existence. So what's the difference? This is the difference between something slow, devotional, effortful, consistent, something where you are putting forth your own effort to tend to something. You're putting forth an effort to cultivate your magic. You're in relationship with it, versus looking for a silver bullet, a magical thing that will just magically fix all your problems, or make you fantastically skilled at something, make you magical overnight. And maybe that exists, but I don't know what that is. I don't know if I know anyone who knows this like magical way of becoming magical at something overnight. But what I have found is that this practical pathway towards cultivating your magic is sustainable, it's pleasurable, and it's really gratifying. And I really want to hone in on the sustainable piece. It's not going to tire you out to take the practical path, even though it's longer, perhaps, slower, perhaps. It's deeply gratifying. It's very pleasurable. And it's sustainable. It's doing what you can one step at a time versus looking for an overnight transformation that might not actually last. The results of that might not actually last. And then once again, you'll be back at the same spot, trying to figure out how to get one more moment of magic. Whereas this practical path, it's cultivating something sustainable over time, being in rhythmic relationship with something, and almost like offering the respect to your magic that it deserves by saying, I'm willing to show up for you every day and practice being with you. And it's almost like the undertone of like cultivating your magic, becoming magical, honing your magic, whatever phrase, the undertone of that, the question underneath that is, what is it really worth to you? Is being magical in whatever way, is it something that is only worth it to you if it can happen instantly? Or is it something that you feel matters to you so much that it is worth your time, your effort, your consistency, your devotion over a sustained period of time? And so really this is like a question of how, like, what is it worth to you to be magical at something? What are you willing to devote to your own cultivation of your magic? What are you willing to offer your magic in return for it showing up for you? What would you give to be magical? And in some ways, it's easy to spend a weekend really pouring yourself into something and hoping for a quick result. And it's in some ways a lot harder to show up for 5 minutes every day for years. So it's something to think about. And maybe this path doesn't resonate with you. Maybe this doesn't resonate with you at all. And maybe seeking a quicker transformation of sorts is more your speed. And I absolutely respect that. And I encourage you to seek it if that's something that feels alive and attainable for you. And if you're someone that has tried this quicker, overnight, magical arrival at magic and it doesn't really work out for you, or you feel like it doesn't last, I invite you to play with this idea that it takes practice to be magical, whatever that might mean to you. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that for today. This one was a little abstract, and it was meant to be that way, so you could apply it to whatever your own idea of magic might be. So I'd love to know what you think of this and which thing you tend towards. Is there something about practice that makes you shy away from it? Is there something about it that makes it hard to commit to? I'd love to know where you're at, and you're welcome to send me a message or leave a comment, whatever feels good to you. And I'm wishing you well until next time. Namaste.